Quick, very good. It's quick and fast. Bhaj Govindam, Bhaj Govindam, Govindam Bhaj Murhamate, Samprapte Sannihiti Kale, Nahi Nahi Rakshati, Rukrunna Karani. So simple translation is remember, recall, relive into that consciousness or real self. Remember, recall, and relive. So the master is addressing, I'm not saying, master is addressing wise fool. Intellectual knowledge alone cannot save us from suffering. Intellectual knowledge. Every human being, can receive knowledge from anywhere by studying the books, by Google, Bing, from the teacher. The master is pointing out that mere intellectual knowledge cannot help me bring an end to the suffering. We know a lot of things. They are dangerous and harmful. That is our intellectual knowledge. I know if I become angry over you, it is not going to bring a good result. And then it's very easy for us to get upset, being angry, reacting, even to our kids. And they remember you when they become older. They remember you. And then they say, now is my time. It was your time and it is my time now. So that is the intellectual knowledge the master is pointing out. He is pointing another thing, appointed time, samprapte sannahite kale. Nothing but the knowledge of the real self can save me from the stress and the suffering. Otherwise, death is inevitable. And that is because that foolishness is caused by the delusion. There is another way to see that delusion in our life. We have a grand vision of life, isn't it? Tell me, who does not have a grand vision of life? Everyone. But what about my way of life? Vision of life and the lifestyle. There is a big gap between the two. Why there is a big gap? Because of the delusion. Because of the imagination. So if we do not match the two, we do not think, speak, and act in a way that does not present the grand vision of life. Who does not have a vision that all my near and dear ones, we will live in a family with love and care, peace and happiness? Who doesn't have? Everyone has it. What about my lifestyle? What is lifestyle? The way I think, speak, and act. So there is a big gap. Why there is a big gap? Because of the delusion. Think. We have to think a lot. So delusion is absence of discernment also that we have done. Delusion simply means that I lack a good sense. I act unwisely, imprudently, without thinking through the decisions. In my daily life, in my relationship, in my profession, at the store, that he's talking about that foolishness. He's talking about that delusion, and that delusion overpowers our lifestyle, the way we think, speak, and act. So there is a big gap between the lifestyle and the vision of the life. I've been telling you, don't you have a grand vision that we will live in peace and happiness, love and care with anyone and everyone every day? But what the mind is cooking inside, I don't want to change. So I don't want to change. So I become impulsive and instinctive. And that is what the master is reminding us. Remember, relive. Remember that I'm the real self. So there are two parts. One is the foolishness. A foolish person lacks a good sense, acts unwisely, imprudently, and then the madness. Madness causes the impurity in our mind. It is irrational, uncontrolled in my behavior. So that is my lifestyle. So there is a big gap between the lifestyle and the vision of the life. What is the reason? Delusion. What is delusion? What appears true is not true. I have been saying it. So, what happens by constant listening and learning these principles in a variety of ways helps open my mind so that the knowledge that I have received in the intellect starts descending into the mind. That is going to change my behavior and attitude. It will never happen if we see that, no, I have understood it. Normally we say that I have understood. No, I know. You need not to say. And the next moment we are irrational, we are impulsive, we are angry, we are agitated. So a constant level of awareness can be maintained when we treat this mind from different aspects, from variety of ways, so that this mind can remove that level of delusion. That is why this entire text is. So understanding also goes from the very first verse. There is another way to understand it. We forget to connect and contribute. We instantly become a consumer of the entire world, consumer of the person, near and the dear ones. Just my mindset is just become a consumer. We don't become a contributor. We don't connect with care, with love to anyone. And that happens because of delusion. Because that craving, that desire is seeking happiness outside. I told you that I receive a lot of emails and I see that which one to respond. So she sent an email that why it is so whenever there is a problem, I always write to you. And whenever I am happy, I forget. So I just told that there is still an element of being a consumer. You are still using me uh, as a consumer. Think of that. She's very much mature. She has been with me for a couple of years and she has been evolving faster. So when you look at those subtle thoughts, subtle feelings, then only you can ask these questions. Is it not a big question? Think of this. I just sent a reply to her. So delusion creates a very subtle I-ness. No, I'm happy. Why to worry? I have a lot of money. Why to worry? But we forget money is not going to buy me happiness. You see the very subtle level. We forget it. Today I'm already happy. I have a lot of pleasure moments, why to attend the session? Think of it. We have to reach to that highest level of awareness. Am I living into that state of awareness? Is the absence of delusion. If it is not, then the stress and suffering will enter from the back door. And it will cause a lot of issues again. And we will go back. We will suffer for a couple of days. Now I have a headache and I had a lot of problems. That's why I was not attending the session. And now I am relaxed and now I'm attending the session. Remember, always think of it. Master is pointing out that vision of life is the goal and the way of life. If there is a gap between the two, you are already in anxiety. There is a storm present in your mind. It may blast at any time. It may be in your workplace, in your relations. It may happen anytime. So what I'm offering you, now see in a very simple way, what I'm offering you. The master says that I'm simply offering you a big thought, a big idea, a big feeling. What that idea and a thought contains? It contains the knowledge to live devoid of the delusion. You see, it's not very subtle to understand at this stage. Eastern wisdom provides us a grand idea, a vision, the goal, and the way of life. You know what this is known as? That grand idea. What is that grand idea? Vision. That is known as the prayer and the worship. It is a cognitive ability. I told you, preaching is different from the teaching. Eastern wisdom offers the teaching by constant listening and learning, contemplation and reflection. And what is preaching? Go and pray to the God. I don't know what is God. I don't know what to pray. Understand it clearly. Prayer, worship, when we use this word for Eastern wisdom, it's a grand idea, it's a vision. It's a goal that connects me to the way of life. That is why we say Bhaj Govindam, Bhaj Govindam, Bhaj Govindam, Govindam, Bhaj Murhamate. It is a recognition in the mind that the way of life can help realize my true nature. And what is that way of life? So gradually we are doing the practice, we are experiencing the changes. It turns out to be living in a moment. Just to say intellectually, no, I'm living in a moment. I'm angry, I'm living in a moment. I have a lot of stress, I'm living in a moment. That does not work. Think. You should challenge me if I'm wrong. The morning I wake up, I had a lot of complaint and blame. So I'm also living in that moment. We are not dead. We have to understand. We have to go a little deeper. So when we complete this text, you will recognize, oh, it is so easy to do it. So that is why a constant listening and learning, followed by the contemplation and reflection, is required on everyday life. Be very clear. Prayer, worship, and that also includes the meditation. It's a cognitive ability, it's a recognition. Intellect knows it. It's a recognition we push into the mind. This is the way of life you have to live. Every day is not the same. Every day the body does not remain the same. Every day everyone is not going to behave in the same way. But I have to live in the moment. I have to live in that moment. Why? Because I'm a seeker. Every day I won't get an appreciation. Every day I won't get a praise. So when I'm seeking praise and appreciation every day, I'm a consumer. Instead, I become a contributor. You see, so that prayer and worship is a grand vision of the life. So Master is saying that if you don't recognize that grand vision of the life, you are foolish. It will not help you. It will put you in distress. What happens when we listen and learn over a length of time and repeat listening and learning, contemplating and reflecting, we are purifying the mind. We are purifying. What we talk in a 1 hour for a couple of, maybe 2 or 3 hours a week. Do we blame someone? Do we complain someone? Do we react? So your mind gets that grand vision in a different way. So that your mind, which has a lot of doubt, receives a conviction, and that helps you to raise your level of awareness. That is why listening and learning is very important. And that is why we say we have kept an idea that the real self alone is real. That is means the pure consciousness alone is real. The rest is the false. What comes out in an American way, we can say focus on what truly matters living in the present. Living in the present means that present moment is devoid of delusion. We have to think and contemplate and reflect, otherwise, it will not. So, the master is giving a blow to our mind and intellect. He says in this verse that the death can come at any unexpected moment. Make the most of each day. That is another meaning of the phrase. Bhaj Govindam, Govindam Bhaj Murdhamate, Sannahite Sant Kale. At any point of time, the death may come. And I'm not in that moment of that is devoid of delusion. There will be an extreme suffering in my life. So Master is also pointing out in this verse that we have to cultivate that sense of humility. Delusion gives you definitely, delusion strengthens your ego. Remember all, discernment and dispassion dissolves your ego. See another interpretation of it. You are in a delusion, there must be an ego. Well, I told you, you did this, you are responsible for my suffering. Why don't you understand? Why don't you change your behavior? No, change your behavior first. In delusion, we talk erratic, irrational manner. We carry those impressions in our life. We stop talking to that person. I think you may be recalling those experiences which happened. And later on, you repent. Oh, I should not have said this. That is another example of a delusion. Passing, don't let life pass through the delusion. So we have introduced a grand idea. We repeat that grand idea consciously in our mind. That is known as the worship. That is known as the prayer to the existence. Now you see you are free from religion. Whether you say you are a spiritual person or a religion. Spiritual person means this, what I just said. Normally, it has become a fashion, I'm not a religious, no, I'm a spiritual person. The fashion keeps you into the delusion, whether your life has changed or not. The lifestyle has changed or not. So the master is pointing out the lifestyle must have changed. So what happens when the intellect has a clear vision of the life? The mind has to follow the lifestyle, and there is a big gap between the two. There is a big gap between the two. And it causes a delusion all the time in my personal life, in my professional life, in my social life. So, how to examine? Just you see that what is your grand vision of life? Peace and happiness with anyone, with everyone, in all locations, at all places. But then now you're going to the store, you're upset. You're talking to your honey, you have a blame. You're talking to your son, you have a different attitude. Now you see the lifestyle. Lifestyle and a vision, they do not match. There is another way that is the way. That is the recognition that you are living in a delusion. So if you don't recognize, what is the next step of the mind? Can you think of it? We start blaming and complaining the word. You just see that, how easy it is to recognize it. So blaming and complaining the word is what the impurity is of the mind, and that is caused by the delusion, that is the foolishness. So again, introduce living in a moment. What will happen next day? I don't know. Next hour. I'm down. Remove the delusion. Let me see how can I contribute instead of becoming a consumer, and the life changes. At that very moment, the life changes. You have a new level of awareness. You are in the moment of prayer and the gratitude. Again, I'm repeating. Pay attention to it that prayer and the worship is nothing but it's a grand vision that connects me to the existence, to the people, to the relationship, to my action, because it connects me to that grand vision. That is why I'm ready 5 minutes before that. Why shouldn't I respect it? That is why I don't feel that I'm fully busy. That is why your mind reminds you, recalls you. Are you ready? Did you check everything? Are you getting it? I believe so. Think of it. Whether you two are living in the same family, but you are ready. Ready with what? With being a contributor. How can you fight with anyone? How can you blame anyone? That is the meaning of living in a moment. That is the meaning of here. He says, recall, remember, and relive with that real self. Otherwise, we have an appointed time of the death. It can come anytime. You will miss the opportunity. So now see that grand vision, and you have that idea, and you are thinking in that grand way. Mind is already empty. Mind is relaxed and calm. And it is ready to respond the ups and downs of the life. Because the world is always in flux, the world is going to change. The body is going to change. We cannot remain healthy all the time. But now, with that grand vision and awareness, I am ready to face if there is any challenges in the body. Then I have a headache, then I must attend the session. I received a couple of emails today. I have an extreme headache. That's why I'm not attending your session. Thank you very much. You will give more headache to the session. Better you did not attend. No, I don't write it. So, what to say, How to respond to that? Think, my friend, we are becoming a seeker, higher level of a seeker. You have to live into that seeker. So the first verse I have repeated, and so that you remember all these points here. The first verse, first stanza of this poem says that living purposefully, goal of life, aligning with the lifestyle. So that means if I say focusing on the prayer and the worship, what is that prayer and worship? Focusing on that grand vision. Oh, I have to live in peace and happiness 24/7 in all the locations with everyone. Means what? No delusion, I'm a contributor. So what happens if you are a contributor? You have already in the presence of humility. You have the inner wisdom, appreciating each day as a gift. So we are ready to make the most of our life every day, every moment. So we don't allow the delusion to enter in between the lifestyle and the vision that I have. Everyone has the same vision. No one sends you the message to get upset when you meet them, to be angry when you meet them. We have the same grand vision, and we only remain ourselves into that mode, and the mind pricks you into different situation, and we forget. So I'll just give you a brief of the second stanza and second verse. So you need to contemplate and think, and uh, we will discuss in detail in our next session. He says, Moor jahihi dhana gam trishnam kurusad buddhim manasi with trishnam. So when I am a consumer, the moment I wake up in the morning, not only I have a desire to consume the world outside, but I will continue to live in the mode of a craving. And that craving makes me fully busy, makes me stressed. I forget the contemplation and the delusion takes over. So what happens? Yallabhase, what he says, may you contemplate at that moment. Do you contemplate? Do you introduce the grand vision in your mind? First, be content. First, be happy. Thank God and thank the existence that at least I'm a human being. I have been gifted this. You are introducing in the back of your mind to help you to live in a particular moment. First, no, let me see where is the truth, the way I'm living here and now. Thank God. Thank the existence. Thank the existence that what you have, what you are, what you possess, and then make the honest effort. No issue. We want to earn more money. Let us earn more money. That's not an issue. But that more money does not have an element of craving guided by that I will be in peace and happiness because if I earn more, that makes me actually busy. It disturbs my harmony in my life. That is the second stanza. We will take it in a deeper, detailed way in our next session. Close your eyes. Eyes are closed and check that how easily you can be in comfort and carefree. Just find out how easy it is for you to be comfortable and being carefree. You already understood being comfortable and carefree, my friends. I need not to talk about it. You are aware. That is another way to live in a moment. Minus delusion. And delusion, I know, attacks you through many ways. And now, Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. I can only say to the seeker that grand vision and the idea that the teacher introduces in the intellect of the mind to descend into the mind itself, from the intellect to the mind. Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. Sarvesham Swastir Bhavatu. The master, our master says that, you cannot sing these mantras like a rap. Sometimes people, that is another delusion. Master is pointing out that is another way of delusion. Don't do that. You have to sing the way I am singing. May there be happiness for all. May there be happiness for all is a recognition, is a cognition, minus delusion, to be a contributor. But I'm seeking happiness for all because I'm also, that includes me. So when you are repeating by repeat practice every day, the time comes, the mind cannot think the other way. Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, Sarvesham Shantir Bhavatu, may there be peace for all. So one day, or it might have already come into your head, even the mind brands a person as your enemy, you are still seeking the peace for him. Why? Because peace is our essential nature. Why? You by side, you keep your ego aside. Oh, let that enemy become my friend today. But why I am doing so? Because to change my mind, to change the delusion, to drop the delusion in my head. Whether the other is being benefited or not, but I am definitely getting benefit. Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu. May there be completeness in all. Completeness in all. Completeness, wholeness. If the existence is whole, complete, if we are created by the existence, we are also whole. Delusion makes me feel that I'm incomplete. And delusion takes many shades and the colors. You see the very subtle level of the delusion. I see you are talking much better than me, and then I feel myself incomplete. You have more wealth than me, I feel incomplete. I can tell you millions of examples that crosses your mind. Oh, my boss doesn't know anything and I know. So that sense of completeness is nothing but the pure consciousness. Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu, Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. May there be an auspiciousness for all. You had a grand vision or idea or a thought through the mantra, and then you expand it. That expansion is nothing but the contemplation and reflection. I'm making it simple. Provided you do it every day in your life. Oh, when you do in your life, you go beyond the body physical consciousness. That is also a delusion. We will talk about it. And now is the time for our breathing practice to purify the mind. But we have added the mantra there that helps us a great deal in keeping the mind withdrawn inside. So you're looking inside the forehead in the space, and that has become easy for you. Check that. And then you start breathing from the rib cage, short and the gentle breath, with expansion in the squeezing of the rib cage only. It is a short breath. And check out. Check out, there is no resistance. There is a recognition of Om Shanti. You are dropping deep inside the forehead in the space. The body doesn't move, it remains in the state of sensation, comfort, and steadiness, and the breath continues. The body doesn't move except the region around the rib cage. You just enjoy that breathing means there is no resistance. And if there is a resistance, it is because the mind wants to follow the old lifestyle. But you have a grand vision, and that is already, you know it, so you endure it to realize that grand vision of the life. So that is why I discussed that should be an endurance. If there is a resistance, there has to be an endurance, and you continue the journey. But sometimes you don't find any resistance. That too is wonderful. That is definitely a better state. Continue, quick, short, gentle breath into the rib cage. I have already discussed, I'm just repeating, accept, recognize the changes. If there is a resistance, it is met by an endurance, but your breath, you don't stop the breathing. That is the meaning of the endurance. Why? Because we don't want the mind should take over me. in the presence of the vision of life. It's a deeper aspect of the breathing practices. And stop it, pay attention to the flow of the breath. At the same time, we recognize the changes. We have also understood if there was any resistance during the practice. So it means if you are doing everyday practice, you will discover that now there is no more resistance. Or if there is a resistance, you can meet the resistance by endurance. That is a great success. You are bypassing that delusion. That will only happen if you are practicing regularly, that you are paying attention to the flow of the breath. And you already understood if there is any less flow of the breath, there you pay attention to check if the flow of the breath becomes equal, and you will definitely enjoy that state. So pay attention to understanding, resistance, recognition, endurance. With the second type, the breathing, you look inside the forehead in the space, drop Om Shanti and start the belly breathing. It's a longer breath, little hissing sound. You are aware of expansion and the squeezing of the belly with every inhalation and exhalation. You will also recognize the flow of the breath through both the nostrils seems to be equal. That is a wonderful state. Even in activity, your mind seems to be absorbed without any resistance. It's a much better state. You know how to bypass those resistance. That is when, or if there is any resistance, you can endure that. You keep on doing it. The intellect says the will is there. The will says, no, I will complete it. Come what may. In both the ways, we are benefited. Continue. Om Shanti continues. Belly breathing continues. Stillness and comfort continues. Any resistance you meet by, and stop it. Allow the breath to be normal. Pay attention to the flow of the breath. And if the flow of the breath in both the nostrils are equal, wonderful, be there. Just you are maintaining your awareness on the flow of the nostril. At the same time, in the background, you are aware of the resistance and recognition of the changes in your experiences. It may have a vision, the colors, and we let them come and let them go. Why? We are more concerned about the real self than these visions and the colors. They will definitely come. Sometimes it remains silence totally. So both the possibilities are there. You will also discover that in these belly breathing and the third breathing, both the nostrils almost have an equal flow. And because of that equal flow, your breath blows out, expulsion of the breath becomes very fast. Pay attention to that in the third breathing, looking inside the forehead. Om Shanti continues and start breathing both from the belly and the rib cage. Body remains still and comfortable. It is only your belly and the rib cage moves, not the entire body. Otherwise, you will faint. You will experience the pain in the neck because of unruly movement of the head. So pay attention to that also. Continue inhaling and exhaling, expanding your belly and the rib cage, squeezing the belly and the rib cage. You're also aware of the breath and its rhythm. And stop this. Allow the breath to be normal. You already know. Bring your awareness at the tip of the nose. Check the flow of the nostril, and both the flow are equal. That is also good. If it is not equal, pay attention to the flow of the nostril, which is less than the other. And you will discover that within few seconds, the flow becomes equal. It is because of the result of the three types of the breathing. Your awareness, mind is withdrawn inside, and minus the delusion. You can pick up this step during the day also, even for 5 minutes, just to check the flow of the nostril. Say, for example, you're anxious and naturally busy and have unnecessary and unwelcome thoughts. So you simply pay attention to that flow of the nostril. Which flow is less, you pay more attention there for a couple of minutes and see what happens. Share your experiences. So you're just paying attention to the flow. That flow of the nostrils, equal flow, both the nostrils, is nothing but equivalent to what we do with the triangle. Experiences are different, but the state of awareness or the consciousness is the same. Looking inside the cave of your heart, visualize the equilateral triangle pointing upward. Om Shanti, moving the mind on each side of a triangle. You may be aware of the flow of the nostril at that time. And when you find the sink, the moment you see this thing, move the mind, singing mentally, push the mind inside the triangle into the cave of the heart, you will see the mind seemingly stops. Shanti. So our goal by the triangle is to just have a state of self-absorption, but I am aware of it. Oh, so in that state of self-absorption, thought will not come. Thought will be very far from me. They do not disturb me. It doesn't mean that I become unconscious in the state of self-absorption. Beautiful. Continue. And now, Om Shanti on the 16 segments of a finger. Instantly, you will discover a lot of sensation on those segments, or there is one uniform energy flow. We also experience the energy flow from the lower to the higher centers of the spine, even when you are not focusing there. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Bring your mind on the right hand, your mind on the left hand. Lift your both your palms, place it on your eyes, open the eyes inside the palms. Know your experiences, bring the hands down. We'll share our experiences. And if you have any question, you can put that question. How are you, David and Jerry?
Thank you, sir. I would say that practice for me early on was a practice of endurance and eliminating the delusion. And by really focusing on the endurance, I was able to get, by the end of it, at such a deep meditative space that when you started the chant at the end, I actually was startled. So it was a interesting practice in the beginning, but it very quickly got to a very deep space. Thank you.
Wonderful. That is what happens, because once you recognized all the delusion are gone, we are already there. In the presence of the delusion, we don't recognize that we are the real self. Beautiful. How are you, Jerry?
Sir, I'm good. Thank you. Sir, the meditation was smooth, no resistance. Breathing was easy. The mind loves this text. The mind believes that we already have everything we need. So when death and loss happens, we have the endurance to be with that. And when relationships change or there's not harmony, we have the endurance to see what can we do to contribute and bring light to that situation. So the mind just loves this text. Thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah. The moment we have a delusion, then we are definitely in a form of anxiety or a duality or a conflict. So we bring in the endurance. So we recognize, oh, there is a delusion. We recognize. Then only we start living in a moment. Otherwise, simply saying will not work. Beautifully said. How are you? Beautifully said, Jerry. How are you, Stephen?
Good. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll just say I was just completely self-absorbed from the moment I closed my eyes, and there was nothing in between, just an even flow. And similar to David, I was startled when you started chanting. I couldn't believe it was over already. So it was great. Thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's a beautiful experience, because we lost interest in the world. We did not lose the awareness of the external world. Pay attention to it. Why we are interested in the world? Because it gives me peace and happiness. So that is why we get started. Oh, the same word came again. I have to live in a moment. Finished. How are you, Dennis?
I'm good, thank you. I appreciate the talk because I was always wondering why there's so many prayers and praising various gods in Vedas and Upanishads in the Hindu tradition, and now I'm getting this understanding why, what for, and what is the reason. So I'm grateful for this explanation of what the prayer is, what it means in the Eastern wisdom. As far as the practice, it was deep, absorbed, almost thoughtless. At one point, I felt kind of a detachment from the body. From the during the japa, when I was looking at the hand, it was like, oh, what kind of hand it is, whose hand it is.
Good.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, good hand. That's a beautiful. Not only in Hindu and these Upanishads, but also if you take our Father in heaven, so that heaven is a grand vision. As such, there is no heaven. The heaven is within me. Holy be your name. So again, it represents the wholeness. So if you look from that perspective, then all religions are mine. All religions are mine. See that. That vision is what the Eastern wisdom is. How are you, Brandy?
Good, thanks. The meditation was really deep and relaxing, and I didn't have any resistance or any problems.
Very beautiful, beautiful. You should have no problem this week. Only this week. Because how are you, Kristen?
Thank you. Today, I noticed the least amount of resistance that I have ever since I've, started
Good.
the practices. And I do have a question. I think it gets back to what Jory was asking a couple weeks ago, and I've been sitting with it, and I don't have the answer. When someone in our life engages in blaming and complaining often as their, regular expression, how do we respond to that from a place of contributing?
How you take their blame and response, which center in you accepts that blame and reaction? What is that center? That is the center of delusion. Are you getting it? If I blame you, in what way you react or respond? So if you are reacting to my blaming you is the center of delusion, is the center of ego, is the center of likes and dislikes, is the center of projection. You have expected that someone is blaming you is right, so I have to rebut it. Now the center of delusion is not there. You said, okay, what else you want me to say? That is one response. We are going into deeper aspect. One aspect is, okay, you are blaming me, I accept all the blame. What is next? I accept with all humility. What is next? Can we still remain friend? And see the face of those people. That is only one aspect. We are going there. That will take some time. How are you? How are you, Samir?
Sir, my mind was little bit struck on some thoughts before the session. After listening to what you said, and after meditation, the thoughts started diluting, and now I am totally relaxed.
Good.
Some things which I was thinking, I forgot that only.
Yeah, that's good. So sometimes those thought comes and it blocks my vision of grand vision of what we are following the path. And if we forget, that's better. The same way we should forget the blame and complain. Christina, I'm blaming you and I say, for example, you are crazy and you get upset. So you have already proved that you are crazy. So it is coming from the center of delusion. So am I aware of that moment? And then you need not to ask me, you will find the solution. how you have to respond. You know. Now your response is so, it is always in the form of a contributing. And that brings the other in harmony also. How are you, Ashok?
Namaste, sir.
Namaste, sir.
I am good and fine. And air flow from the nostrils was good.
Good.
It was, you can say, it was rhythmatic. And I want to ask you one question. Ki after that, after the, I mean, we should think forward about the what will happen after this, or we should remain at that state and wait for something to happen.
I would say the last one, you wait something to happen, but don't create an imagination.
Okay. So we have to be live in present only.
Yeah.
We should not live
Yeah.
forward. We should not see what will happen, what will not happen. We should live in present only. Like
Yeah.
a drop is merging into the ocean. We can say that.
Yeah. You have to remain aware of the equal flow of the breath for an extended period of the time without any resistance. Then what is going to happen? Then what existence has already desired for you will happen. So we do not create any vision and imagination. We
Okay.
leave it to the existence. We leave it to the God. Here,
Hmm.
another way to that.
ओके लाइक जैसे होता है ना सर, स्टोन को मारते हैं तो ये आग चिंगारी डेवलप हो जाती है. आई मीन वी आर डूइंग समथिंग तो समथिंग विल हैपन, बट वी शुड नॉट थिंक अबाउट दैट.
No, we should not. So what is
Okay.
going to happen? Our past impression, we have millions of impressions we have created. So they
अगर कोई
will
नहीं भी हो रहा है तो भी कोई बात नहीं है.
they will resurface, they will cause some anxiety. We are still maintaining that level of awareness, and it will go. Then it will bring the deeper state of the peace. So we are not only releasing, we are also transforming.
Okay. Thank you so
How
much.
are you, Vaibhav?
Thank you, sir. Sir, I'm good. In the practice, I was able to see that the resistance is coming and how can I moving forward. And by the end, it was smooth. And while I was doing this Om Shanti at the end, my left hand was twitching. So it was giving me some twitching, and by the end, after that, the practice was end.
Yes, I can say that now the practice is going into a deeper phase. We not only understand that. Sometimes we may experience the twitching, sometimes we experience the influx of millions of the thoughts, and we say where we are, leave everything, a kind of frustration. These are coming from our past impressions. So let them come, we endure it and let them go. And then we will enter into a new and higher level of awareness. I will explain that aspect in deeper in the following sessions. Yes, if you are ready to speak, you can say. Terry.
At one point during the breathing, and then again at the during the next phase of the breathing, I felt like an incredible dropping, like I was just dropping.
Yeah.
Falling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just for a second, but it was good. It was a good experience. I experienced it as a good feeling.
Good feeling. If you can do.
It wasn't frightening or anything.
Yeah, if you can do, anyone can do.
Huh.
Medical science, may say something different, but you have already reached to that level of will by which you have been doing, and you feel that state of calmness. It is definitely good. Wonderful. That is all for today. We will meet in the next session. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, sir.
Thank you.
Namaste, everyone.
Namaste.